"2008 is a pretty important year for cinema. We had the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man. We had the massive disappointment of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We also had the critically acclaimed and commercially adored The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was directed by Christopher Nolan and starred Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, and Gary Oldman. This movie was, and still is, a cultural phenomenon. The realistic take on the struggle between Batman and the Crown Prince of Crime was a major highlight. Many people praised this film for its realism, its crime drama story, and most importantly, Heath Ledger's superb performance as the Joker. While many praise this as a masterpiece, I feel like I missed something. I would like to use this video as a way to explain my stance on this film and why I believe that it is not as great as many think it is. Now, don't get me wrong, this movie is great, but it never hit me the way that others were affected by it. Before I get into my problems, I want to go into what I think is most interesting about this movie. This movie is about one central conflict, Batman and the Joker, and the battle both philosophically, mentally, emotionally, and physically against each other. Each one has the same end goal: end corruption in Gotham. Batman, however, always took a more subdued approach. He would put criminals in Arkham so then they could escape again. Well, and also, invasion of privacy. But the Joker, however, he took a more extreme approach to it. He would assassinate major political figures in the Gotham community. He would murder the mob bosses. He would burn all their money. In a way, the Joker was more successful with ending corruption than Batman ever was. Batman has always been an idea, but an idea doesn't always cause change to happen. Now, while I think that this central conflict is the reason why I go back, I feel like that's also the reason why many other people come back and don't look at the issues that I think plague this film. While this film is a beautiful representation of the eternal struggle between Batman and the Joker, there are definite issues. The first issue is with the character of Rachel Dawes. She is only used as a plot device throughout the entire trilogy. In Batman Begins, she is there to show Bruce that he was wrong in killing Joe Chill. In The Dark Knight, she's just an object for Bruce Wayne to pine over, and then is killed off to progress the story of Bruce being broken down emotionally and Harvey losing his sanity. And in The Dark Knight Rises, she is used again, even though she's not in the film. Her presence and Alfred reading her letter is used to break apart Alfred and Batman. Now, for a character whose death we should feel emotional for, and one that is one of the biggest emotional beats of the story, I feel like it really suffers that we do not grow to care for this character because she is not fleshed out. Now, this is where it gets a little bit controversial. I think that Harvey Dent is one of the weakest characters in this film. Not as weak as Rachel, but he has such a drastic change in emotions that is really jarring when watching the film. Because if we sort of follow his progression throughout the film, he starts out as a lawyer and the hope for Gotham. Then, through various events, he is kidnapped by the Joker and then gets his face burned. But in that chunk, there is so much that shows how great of a person Harvey Dent is. He has some anger issues, but he, at his core, is the White Knight of Gotham. But then, after he gets his face burned and we get that amazing hospital scene, he just turns around and starts killing people. There should have been more in between the hospital and him going around killing mobsters that could show his descent into madness. Because no one can go from the hope of a city to just a killer like that. I mean, it's possible, but I feel like we would have been more attached to this tragic character if we were able to see that descent. For instance, there's a great video game called Telltale's Batman, Season 1. And in Season 1, you get a story that's a lot like The Dark Knight, at least in the way that they handle Harvey Dent. But they handle him better, because over the course of 4 episodes, you get to see Harvey go from the hope, you get to see his fall, you get to see his struggle with depression and all the events that Batman causes in his life that lead him to becoming the dual character of Two-Face. And I definitely feel like they handled that so much better. Seeing his slow digression into becoming this madman is sad. It's something that really hits you when that happens, because you've been there with him the entire time. And you see that he wants to be good, but he is broken down emotionally. We could have seen something like that in The Dark Knight. And while, yes, Batman the Telltale series had 4 episodes to flesh out this storyline, and yes, The Dark Knight had limited time because it is a film, but they could have done something to show that digression instead of just a drastic change. And I feel like because we don't see his descent, it really takes away from the emotional punch. I have a very complicated relationship with this movie. I feel like it is a perfect example of how to handle Batman and the Joker. But Batman and the Joker can have cool scenes, but they don't drive the emotional narrative. But the characters that did in The Dark Knight were Rachel and Harvey. And I feel like the characters were very mishandled, and that is what caused The Dark Knight to fall. You made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. It really means the world to me. Now, if you enjoyed what you've seen here and you want to see what else I have to put out, you can subscribe, or you can see all of my opinions and everything else on my Twitter, which is the same name as this channel, but follow that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.